Welcome back to Strongman Personal Finance, everybody. Today, we're going to talk about Dave Ramsey. Now, Dave Ramsey is a very popular financial guru. He does a lot of good work for a lot of people, and he changes people's lives, and that's a good thing. And I'll tell you what, he is excellent at helping you pay down debt. He is the debt payment master because he knows that paying off your debt and investing is mostly behavioral, all right? It doesn't take a financial genius to pay off your debts and to invest. It takes good behavior and discipline and some money. That's all it takes. Now, Dave Ramsey does a lot of good, but he also says some pretty stupid things that I disagree with in the realm of investing and home ownership and things like that. He's a good guy, but some of the things he teaches and some of the places he tries to send you to get financial advice are not good for you, right? Dave Ramsey would be perfect if he kept his exact debt advice that he normally gives, pay down your debts, blah, 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 and if he actually gave you good investing advice, which I don't think he does. So I've got a list here. I'm going to go through each point, and I'm going to talk about things that I disagree with old Dave Ramsey about. Now, don't get mad. I still like him. He's better than most financial advisors, but still, he's not perfect. But you know who is perfect? Me. Like and subscribe to my channel. Now, the first thing that Dave recommends to people that I disagree with is that they should invest in actively managed mutual funds. An actively managed mutual fund is a mutual fund where the fund manager picks stocks, picks winners and losers to try to outperform its target benchmark. So if you invest in a large cap, actively managed fund, they're going to try to beat the S&P 500 index. The opposite of active investing is passive investing, where a fund manager literally buys stocks or bonds or whatever that track the performance of an index. That's index investing. Now, Dave Ramsey likes active investing because he thinks that there are managers that can consistently beat the market in the long term. And that's simply not true. There are some active managers out there that have done amazing things, like Warren Buffett and I guess Ray Dalio, and there's a couple others. And they've done good things for long periods of time. But the vast majority of actively managed mutual funds and their fund managers will always underperform their index in the long run. Why is that? Well, number one, active management is very tax inefficient. When you're actively managing a fund, you have to buy stocks and sell stocks way more often than you do in a passively managed fund because you're buying and selling winners and losers. You have to rebalance your portfolio to try to beat the market. When you invest in an index fund, you literally just buy the freaking stocks that are in the index and you make sure that the allocation roughly stays the same and that it actually tracks the index. So there's not a lot of tax inefficiencies. They buy the freaking stocks and they hold them in the index funds. That's it. Reason number two, actively managed funds charge way higher fees. Way higher. An index fund, well, there's actually free index funds now. Go to Fidelity. They have free, literally free index funds. Active managers are going to charge you probably about 1% of your assets every year invested. 1%. And you may not think that's a lot, but over your lifetime, if you're actually maxing out your IRAs and whatever, that could be hundreds of thousands of dollars less in your account because of fees, because they reduce your returns. Active managers, they're tax inefficient and they charge much higher fees than index funds. And if you look at the data, not just emotions and feelings, if you look at the data, active managers suck over the long run. They don't beat their indexes. Now, if they start doing that, great. But until I actually see the data, I'm not going to trust active managers until they can actually outperform the market when you factor in taxes and fees. Okay? That's point number one where I disagree with old Dave. The next thing, your asset allocation. Dave thinks you should be 100% equities, stocks, your entire life. And he's got this model where it's like 25% this, 25% that, 25, which that's fine if you have a 100% stock portfolio. But most people should not be 100% stock their entire lives. When they're young, yes. If you have a pension, a big pension, yes. If you have another reliable source of income that you can count on that'll cover your bills, then yes, you can do 100% stocks. But if you're just the average person and all you have is Social Security, when you get close to retirement, you better have some of your assets in less risky investments like bonds or high yield savings accounts or CDs. You should not have 100% of your portfolio in stocks. Because if you're about to retire and you need to draw from that portfolio, the stock market could crash. And that'll screw you if you have 100% equities. But if you have some money in cash and some money in bonds, you can still withdraw from those and not withdraw at the worst possible time. So I 100% disagree with old Davy Pooh that you should have 100% equities. Now, he's super rich, and if I had as much money as he does, I'd be 100% equities too. And I am 100% equities, but that's because I have a pension. But you should not be 100% equities unless you have a nice pension. If you're just average Joe, no. As you get older, more and more your portfolio should be high yield savings and bonds. And if you question that, leave my channel. Just kidding. Like and subscribe. The next thing. Dave Ramsey always talks about not using credit cards, and you don't really need a credit score. I hear that all the time on his channel. That is stupid. You need a credit score, and one of the best ways to do it is to have a credit card and use it responsibly, all right? All you have to do is get a secured credit card. You give the company cash. That's your credit limit. You charge a little bit of bills to that card, and you pay it off every month, and that builds your credit. Now, you need credit because if you want to buy a house, which the vast majority of people have to do with a loan called a mortgage, you need a credit score. If you don't have a credit score, you're not going to qualify for a mortgage. And even if you do, you're going to get a crappy interest rate. You need a freaking credit score. And one of the best ways to do it is a credit card. Now, if you're completely irresponsible and you just have to max out your credit cards and not pay them off every month in full in the statement balance, then okay, you shouldn't be using a credit card, but you need a credit score. You need a credit score. So don't listen to this BS that he spouts about, you don't need a credit card. The rewards points, they don't do anything. I've used credit cards my entire life, my entire working life. And my rewards give me between 2 and 5% cash back every month. And I've paid zero interest because I pay the card off in full. So I literally save between 2 and 5% of everything that I buy just by swiping with the credit card. Boop. Even my Fidelity card, I swipe it on everything and boom, I get 2% cash back into my investment account. And I pay it off in full. So yeah, the credit card did me good. And I have a good credit score because I paid off my cards responsibly and I was able to get a really good rate on my mortgage. You actually need a credit score. So don't listen to Dave Ramsey, you need a credit score. It's dumb. You need a credit score. Get a credit card. If you're irresponsible, get a secured card and freaking pay it off responsibly every month. And you'll thank me later. The next thing, mutual fund returns. Now, in his book, he wants you to pick actively managed mutual funds because he claims that there are some fund managers that can beat the index, which, as I just talked about, they can. The issue is, in the long run, most managers suck. In the long run, they will not beat their index. You may have a star manager for a mutual fund, and then he retires, or he loses his edge, and then the fund loses a ton of money. You don't want to put your entire life savings on the planning and the expertise of 1 or 2 men or women that are leading a fund. You don't want to stake your entire life savings on 1 or 2 people. I'll say that over and over again. That's dumb. Instead of doing that, you can just purchase a basket of securities that track all of the world's stock markets, okay? That's how you secure your retirement and do it responsibly. But trusting 1 or 2 people, no, it's not a good idea. You don't want to invest in actively managed mutual funds. Just don't do it. And the returns that he says you can get, just find a mutual fund that has performed well over the last 10 years. Well, past performance generally does not mean that you're going to have future performance at that same level. So if a mutual fund outperforms in the past, there's a good chance that a lot of the investments in that fund are now overvalued because it has done so well in the past. So many people have bought those stocks and bid up the price that they've done well in the past 10 years, but now they're overvalued. So you'd actually be buying in at the worst time if you chase performance. Don't do it. Next thing. This is what I hate most. Dave Ramsey is all about the 15-year mortgage as opposed to the 30-year mortgage, which I think is ridiculous. I think it's a terrible idea to get a 15-year mortgage. Here's why. The 30-year mortgage results in a much lower payment. You'll have a slightly higher interest rate, but you'll have a much lower payment. Now, with a 30-year, you're going to pay more interest over the life of the loan. But when you factor in the time value of money and the returns that you can generate by using your excess cash flow to invest in tax advantage assets like IRAs or 401ks, if you take the difference between what you'd be paying with a 15-year and a 30-year, you take that difference and you invest it, you're going to be much better off than if you paid off your home early. Most investment returns result because people allocated or because they invested for a long period of time. Time is the number one reason that people get wealthy. They invest consistently, they get a lot of money set aside in investments, and over time that investment compounds and grows and doubles again and doubles again. That takes time. If you're funneling most of your money to a 15-year mortgage because your payment's $500 higher a month, yeah, you're saving a little bit of interest, 1%, 2%, 3% a year with historically low rates, but look how much money you're losing by not taking that extra $500 and buying assets that have historically performed much better, like stocks, like broadly diversified index funds. Another thing I don't like about 15-year mortgages, there's much less flexibility. For example, if I lose my job and I have a 15-year mortgage, I still have this huge freaking payment that I have to make every month because your payment is much higher on a 15-year mortgage for the same amount of house. If I have a 30-year mortgage, I have a lot more flexibility because my payment is way lower. So if I have cash saved up and I've lost my job, I can survive a lot longer before I have to start taking money out of retirement funds, which is the last thing you want to do. 30-year mortgages give you more flexibility. If something bad happens, you can still afford your mortgage a lot easier. And if times are good and you decide you want to throw a couple $100s more in your mortgage, you have the flexibility to do that. You have a lot more wiggle room. Just trust me. Don't worry about the interest you're saving with a 15-year mortgage because the interest is only roughly 3% a year now with rates so low. There are assets that can give you better returns. Would you rather have a 3% return on a dollar or a 10% return? That's basically your decision when you're considering paying off your home faster and saving on interest versus investing in the stock market. Okay? Don't do a 15-year mortgage. All right, and finally, this is another thing this is one of the biggest pet peeves that I have with Dave Ramsey. He's all about, you get debt's bad and that's fine, mostly, except for 30-year mortgages and maybe a car. But he also directs people to invest through the Smart Investor Pros. So when somebody's like, hey, I need help investing, he has a program where he refers you to financial advisors that he has specifically vetted, picked out, that match his ideals and beliefs. Now, you may think you can trust these financial advisors because they're Dave Ramsey approved. Well, let me tell you what. These financial advisors that he's referring to you are going to screw you. Look at the other videos that I've done about financial advisors. The vast majority are commissioned or they're fee only, but they charge a fee that roughly approximates what a commission advisor would charge you. So if you invest with one of these people, you're going to be paying front-end sales loads where a big portion of your initial investment every month goes to commissions. They're going to charge you extremely high fees, which are going to significantly reduce your returns. And they might even put you in garbage insurance products like annuities, which you don't need unless you're a little baby, and whole life. These guys are not good. And the reason I know they're not good is because I was watching one of his YouTube videos, and they're generally good. But he said that Edward Jones, which is they're a financial advisor, firm, whatever. Edward Jones is horrible. He said they're good. They're not good. Those are the exact kind of guys that you should avoid. You don't want to pay massive fees to financial advisors with their suits and their slicked back hair. Because yeah, you may think they're smart. They're not. They memorize a sales pitch. they sell you some junk product, and they charge you out the butt. So avoid his SmartVestors. The only financial advisor that you should go to, and I'm not a licensed financial advisor, okay? So I can't give you specific recommendations. But the only advisor you should go to is an advisor that charges you a fixed, upfront, one-time fee to build you a financial plan, because they have zero incentive to keep you around and put you in crap investments. Their only incentive is to give you an outstanding financial plan and charge you a lot up front, but it's worth it in the long run. They give you a great plan, and then you can use that plan and go back to them if you absolutely need to. But they're not going to try to suck you in and charge you ridiculous fees. That is the only time that I recommend you go to a financial advisor. One fixed upfront fee to build you a financial plan. And make sure they're a fiduciary and preferably a certified financial planner. Okay? That's my rant about Dave Ramsey. Overall, he's good about debt. He's good about managing your cash. He's good about motivating you and, tapping into your behavioral impulses. But when it comes to investing, he's not that good. There are better ways to invest, such as listening to Strongman Personal Finance and learning all about my knowledge. That's it. If you like my video, subscribe to my channel, hit the bell button for notification, share this video to all your friends because they need this, especially if they worship Dave Ramsey. Oh, Dave Ramsey. And leave a comment below and we'll have a nice discussion, okay? You guys have a wonderful day.